Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast. This is season 6, episode 13. I want to thank everybody for listening, tuning in, and downloading. It's been a great season so far. Frankie's episode really took off, talking about his new album. So check out that new album when it drops, and shout out to the Vibe Tribe. So I got a very special guest for this episode, Nolan Raw, a friend that I've known since middle school. He is a follower of the show and been a fan. And him and AJ recommended this guy. And he has some secret names, some secret alias right now. But we're going by Man Handsome. So Man Handsome is my special guest. So how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing good, brother. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. Also, thank you for your patience with my new job and everything going on. I've had to kind of reschedule with him, so you've been very patient. So I appreciate that.
Oh, it's no problem at all.
So let's talk about your project. So very interesting. What's kind of cool about this episode? Usually when I'm interviewing people, I like know them personally. I am friends with him on Facebook. I think he's a great guy, but I don't know much about you. So it's gonna be kind of cool, like learning about you and learning about some of the stuff that you've been working on. So one of your first projects is a Meat Team. So we were talking about that a little bit before the show. So break that down for me.
Yeah, Meat Team, that's just a storytelling project. I started for years doing music and everything, and I just really wanted to sort of expand that in the storytelling and just sort of play around with the sound of voices and trying to like have everything orbit around a narrative plot. Um, yeah, so I've done six, technically seven episodes last year, just writing the stories, trying to go very go, go, go with it. So everything I tried to aim with one episode a month, which includes writing, editing, voice recording, and then scoring and production and everything. So yeah, that was a huge thing. I'm trying to work on episode on season two now, but just want to make sure the writing is as tight as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what gave you the motivation to do this? Like how long was this a idea in your head?
Probably like over a decade. I think the idea came to me in 2006. I've taken like a couple stabs at it throughout that time. I would pick it up, play around with it, and then just sort of drop it. And then when I had some free time and I needed something to fill that, then I just tried to just go gung ho with it. Sometimes you can overthink things, so I just had to turn my brain off and just pursue it without sort of like recognizing its quality or what it was going to turn out to be.
Oh yeah, I totally get that. And do you feel like you mentioned, horror comedy show like experimental, like were these ideas of like this is kind of the way I want to go with it, or is each episode something that you're getting motivation, something from where currently, or just ideas that you think would flow together? Like, what's kind of your creative process?
Um, I think like horror comedy, that was sort of the intention, and then a few episodes I've sort of like fallen off of that. Based, I try to base everything just like a starting point of just I want it to be funny. That's the main thing. I think horror plots have the most grit to them. They're always like really fascinating. Um, like Nightmare on Elm Street, for instance, has like a really interesting plot of just being vulnerable. Uh, in sleep while being approached by Freddy Krueger. Various other horror movies. They all seem very fascinating in plots. And if I weren't such a coward, I would be able to watch more of them. But yeah, that's that. But I think there was like one episode of the first season, the episode five, where I had to sort of abandon that. And I tried to, because I was able, for the first season, I tried to bring in like featured guests and so or like featured musicians to use their music in it. And I had two of my favorite bands, so I had to go for a more sentimental angle. So it ended up being a superhero story.
Okay.
That was just the way things came together. Um, One of the things with the first season, like the purpose for horror also, it just since it's like audio only storytelling, there's such a potential of like tapping into like the blindness of the audience.
Mhm.
And I don't really feel like I capitalized on that well for any of the stories. That just you have an intention, and in the pursuit, it can just get like lost in the weeds. But yeah, that's like mostly the purpose where I could just sort of startle it and just sort of like build that suspense, something I'm still trying to work on.
And you mentioned working on wanting to do season two. Are you
Hmm.
going to reflect on season one and try to keep it? Is there like I guess the question is there anything that you want to change for season two that you didn't get to do on season one you maybe want to do or you want to try to do for the next season?
Yeah, there's I've in the course of making season one, I've been reading like a lot of books. I want to like raise the quality of everything, the storytelling, the sound design, the production. One of the feedback that I got, one feedback that I got from episode 7 was that 15 minutes felt a little bit long for it. And
Mhm.
so I just sort of like reiterated on that and thinking about it and just, people listen to like long form content, um, like 40 minutes to an hour and so on. And it just, because it's just so full of music that it ends up sort of feeling taxing. So I'm going to try to like play that balance a little bit. In my work, I fear silence so much that I have to sort of, I guess, try to like make it less taxing and make sure that every sound really like enhances the emotions of the story versus then just having sound for sound's sake.
Have you heard a
Um,
song that's made you want to do an episode? Like, have you heard a song you're like, you know what, this song has motivated an idea for me to put this into an episode, and I think this song will really help the storyline?
yeah, I've done that for a few of it. Episode 2 took a long time. Ended up being sort of a variety show, but I would sometimes listen to music from friends and everything. I'm friends with a local act in Louisville, Forrest and the Photons. I'd listen to some of Forrest, the songwriter of the band. I'd listen to some of his older songs and just sort of write a script around that. I'm friends with other electronic musicians, and I would listen to that and just kind of like, oh, this sounds like this would be like the soundtrack for a pharmaceutical commercial. I can write a script on that. Uh, it was completely different from what I intended for episode 2 to be, but it ended up sort of like having this sort of variety show thing where there's just like random skits in the middle of it that are really cool to me in hindsight. I wish I had carried that forward, but some of the commercials in that episode was utilizing that sort of like inspiration and then writing a story around it.
No, that's really cool, and I like that. I like that idea of that, like kind of almost like skit, like trying to
Hmm.
different scenes. I think that's awesome and like different moments. So I think that's super
Hmm.
cool, and that's something also that like it keeps people so engaged because they're like, what's next, and it's like what's next that I'm gonna hear. And and I see that Mirador is a musical
Hmm.
project that you worked on as well, and you
Hmm.
mentioned that. So it kind of break that down and break down that persona. And let me ask you this: would you say these different names and characters and stuff, is that a persona or these different? Well, how would you break that down?
The different characters, I guess it's sort of like an evolution of the of creating an identity around doing versus being. When I was much younger, I went through the sort of there's like a rite of passage, I think, for artists and a sort of ego death and everything. So, um, you have our birth names of just like sort of developing identity around that, and as you create, it feels like you're just like creating excellent because it's a thing that you did. And after I went through that ego death and just had developed my first fake identity, Olaf Ferguson, um, I just it was like depressing at first because when you're like no longer when your existence is no longer tied to the work, there doesn't seem to be that drive to create it. And then somewhere along that point, it just identity doesn't it sort of feels like a game, and so it's just sort of fun, and I just like to have fun with it where I create like a sort of joke world that I get to live in, and then I just sort of like possess that. I don't know if that might have been just like really head up my rump kind of talking, but I don't
No,
know.
but
I
I
just
think it provides you a freedom. I think it provides you a
hmm
freedom as a creator where, okay, I did this. Now I'm done with that. I move on to this, or that didn't
hmm
work, or this worked great. And that way you actually have a freedom where you can be whoever you want to be. And like if something personally took off, that might be
hmm
something you want to ride with for forever. Or you might say, hey, I'm going to hold that, tie that down and move on to the next thing. So I think that's a very good job, and it's actually smart because it provides you creative freedom. Because you're completely right. People are very
hmm
hung up on namesake and
hmm
getting credit and getting that, and sometimes it takes away from the creation of what you're trying to produce. Like if you're just worried about I want people to know this is this. It takes away from kind of what you're putting into the content. So you're now almost just doing it for the passion, which I think is really important.
hmm
And do you feel
Also,
like with Mir? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
also, it might just be just sort of I don't know if you've ever been in any bands or if you've like performed, but it's as soon as it might just be a love of like naming different bands. As soon as you get a few musicians into a jam and they enjoy it before writing their first song, just like, well, what's our band name gonna be? And so it's just a way of just doing that, but on an individual level. It might just be just like a silly enjoyment of just like coming up with different band names, but on a person scale.
I like it. I mean, I think it's cool, and it shows your kind of artistry of you can touch different elements and be a different character in each way.
hmm
So this musical project, you know, what were you trying to do with that, and what were some of the goals with Mirador?
I just it was I at the time I came up with it in 2012, and it was sort of the inverse of that. I've got a new sound. What's the name going to be? Like for the longest time I was doing like singer-songwriter kind of stuff, and then I just sort of one time my pardon me, one time my a relative found a piano or like an electric piano in the trash and everything. So I just kept that in my kitchen, and I would just try to jam on that,
Ooh,
and I would come up with songs and basing it around that instead of like the chords of the guitar and singing. It was like my first instrumental process, instrumental output, and so like I love instrumental music so much more than singer-songwriter stuff, which is weird now that I'm doing Meat Team and it's basically just all my voice. I love to sort of disappear into like the wavelengths of the music and not have to hear my voice so much. But so I was able to create something so like atmospheric and just like a musical space, and I got to just sort of I had to come up with a name for it, so I just combined a bunch of syllables that sounded nice, and I ended up doing with Mirador, which apparently is a Spanish word for a lookout. I didn't know that at the time. I just sort of shrugged and just like, yeah, it kind of works.
that's really cool. And I think it again that goes back to the musical freedom of you're able to do Meat Team, you're able to do Meridor, kind of two different elements, two different worlds,
hmm
and you're getting to express yourself on both those ways. I rapped back in the day, and I did some DJ.
hmm
Never was in a band. Definitely watched different people doing playing bands and witnessed just kind of people practicing and stuff like that. And it was always, like you said, it was always interesting to see kind of the creative process. And a lot of times that's what's so entertaining of
Hmm.
bands and kind of the beginning process. It's really cool to read about and hear about is because, like you said, you're creating ideas. It's multiple brains throwing stuff at each other and seeing what sticks. And but no, I think that's cool that you had two different elements of doing that. Um, let
Real
me.
quick,
Oh yes, for
um,
sure.
what was your rap alias?
Sleazy E. So that's kind of where Vibing with Sleazy came from. So it started like I got called Buzzy B in middle school because I had a buzz haircut. Shout rest in peace. There's a guy named Calvarone Jones. I played basketball with him. He used to call me Buzzy B, and he used to be like Buzzy B. And then when I got to J Town in high school, I went to Sleazy, and it just stuck. Well, I thought it'd be done after high school. And then when I moved to college, I moved in with some rappers and they had like a rap clique called Military Minded and it was like Bricks and Young Trill. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna lay down Sleazy again. So I did a mixtape, a couple songs, and then a lot of people just call me Sleaze or Sleazy. And then the podcast name, when I started it back around the COVID year, I was like, Vibing with Sleazy the podcast. That's just a good name, and it just flows and it kind of it rolls off the tongue good. So that's my alias.
You think Sleazy might make an appearance on your podcast at some point?
Possibly, possibly. You know, a lot of people have thrown some great ideas at me of trying to see of like flipping it around where somebody interviews me, but it might be like kind of how you're doing where it's a different persona. It's a maybe covering something from my past or something I'm interested in now or just hearing something. So I definitely think about ideas for like future seasons because I want to do season seven, of course, and I don't know. I definitely have some time when I do my breaks where I want to kind of brainstorm something I could kind of do. But I've always wanted. I've been on probably like two or three podcasts where someone's interviewed me, and I like it. It's fun,
Hmm.
but I get so used to doing this. Like I take such a pride in like questions and I try to go into it more freestyle, but like with some of the content you told me about you and just learned about you, I just kind of made some like brief notes, but I like
Hmm.
I kind of like going with the flow with it. It's fun.
All right, cool. Well, there's always the opportunity to add a theme song or an opening song. If you need a beat, I can throw you one, and you can throw down some verses to introduce your podcast.
Hell yeah, dude. No, that'd be fun, man. I haven't, like I said, I haven't done it in so long. What was fun was I had a music video. I don't even think it's online because the guy that shot it ran for politics and he had to kind of take it down because it's a wild video. But had a song called Getting Shitty, and then I had a song called Ordinary Weekend. And I made the beats on both. And with a couple guys, and it was just a lot of fun. Like the first beat, Getting Shitty, I made with a guy named Josh Belgard, and then Ordinary Weekend, I made it with Daniel Settle and Trevor Powell, and we just broke it down and had fun with it. And then when I did a mixtape, I kind of did beats from other artists. So it was it was fun rapping. And to be honest, I was always one of these guys, still am to this day, where I want to try different fields. Like I did poetry, I've done some rap,
Hmm.
I'm now doing podcasting. I've even wanted to get into like finding a way where I could read an audio book. Like I just would
Hmm.
I'm just a creative, always felt that way, and
Hmm.
podcast really helps me on an expression mode. Like a lot of times, like when I'm with people I'm close with, or like my girlfriend, I'm very social, very talkable. But sometimes, when you're in the real world, I'm very like quiet and low key, and people that
Hmm.
know that I have a podcast are like, oh, like you be talking a lot of that, and like I'm a talker, but it's just a case where sometimes I get in that mode where I'm like, yeah, I'm just not talking, but the podcast kind of when I'm back on the mic, it's like it's that confidence and getting back on it and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And what do you feel like with doing these projects? Has it helped you on a personal confidence level? Because like mental health is very important to me. I think also for creatives, a lot of times we're so hard on ourselves and we're like perfectionists. We're like trying to just do things the way we really want to turn out. Do you feel like this has really helped you mentally and like uh, given you like more confidence doing these projects?
No.
Oh, really?
No, it's there's an expression I've heard amongst performing artists where it's if you remember the performance, it wasn't good because you just tend to like if you're on stage and if the only things you're like really intaking as far as information are just like, oh damn it, I hit the wrong note or I forgot the word and everything. So the more you remember the performance, um uh the more mistakes you made on there. And I have the same thing. It feels good to accomplish each song, um, each each episode. But anytime I listen to it, there's just I could have fixed that. That was a weird decision. Those are the things that stand out more to me. I get like a sense of accomplishment from doing them,
Yeah.
but it's mostly just my preferred method of toil uh, in the same way that I prefer winter. That's just the way I choose to suffer. I like working on stuff, but I don't personally find any value in what I've created. It's just, I am alive another day, so I need to work on something.
I like that. I mean, I like that perspective of like you want to work on something, you want to create something, but at the end of the day, it's not really about like, re-listening to it. You just put it out. And I'll be honest, I don't really ever re-listen to the podcast episodes. Like I find it kind of weird if I was sitting there listening. Now,
Hmm.
I will say this, there's a few times where I've always like I'm perfectionist from the standpoint I'll say something and I feel like I
Hmm.
fucked up a fact or fucked up a word and then I'll re-listen to it and then I'll even fast forward just to that point and be like, what the fuck did I say? And it always
Hmm.
turns out it was fine. I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm over here anxiety, just overthinking like, what the fuck did I say at the 35th minute mark? But what's funny is I can kill the whole rest of the podcast episode, go fucking almost 2 hours, like talking,
Hmm.
flowing, but my brain halfway through the show will randomly go back and be like, "What the fuck did I say 30 minutes ago?" Like it's just
Right.
it's weird how yeah, we're just all hard on ourselves like as performing artists. So I feel like this show gives me a level of confidence where sometimes it's just like, hey, this is where I can actually express things and people are going to listen. Not saying that nobody listens to me, but it's like I'm not going to randomly with the people I work with or friends be like, hey, did you know dolphins like do like? But when I with facts and like sharing stories and stuff, that's where I can share these different things and content like that. So let's talk about this. I want to, other than your project, something very,
Hmm.
very interesting that you shared with me, and I definitely want to talk about it. So outside of your art, your biggest political cause is being anti your hand dryer.
Oh,
And
I hate those.
and I think that was very interesting for you to share. And to be honest with you, I really want to dive into it. So please break it down because the more I thought about it when I read that, I'll be
Hmm.
honest, I have a lot of issues with hand dryers as well too. So I want you to go first and kind of express what this hatred is.
It's I I'm not going to be political or anything like that. Like, I'm not
Right.
trying to be a politician, but
Yeah.
I believe in people. I believe in the people's capability of making their own decisions, of being thinking and having possession of their own lives. And I think air dryers reduces the concept of a person down to an automaton. It's there, so we do it. It's just it turns a thinking, feeling person into a mouse in a maze by we wash our hands. Our hands are wet. We dry our hands. This is the thing that is meant to dry our hands with. And you do it, and it's like always the same time. It's just like the same experience. We do that. We entertain this nothing of an idea for about 10 seconds before we just sort of like have to move on our day, and we still have these wet darn hands and we go about it. And I used to be one of those people. I would do the same thing and it would just be like the cycle. And I would just like do that, shake the hands off, dry them on my pants, go on about our days. And it just like eventually I found myself just like uh, engaging in this nonsensical process. Um, and then once I awakened, once I opened my third eye, I saw what was really going on. And just I hate this. I hate this. So that's my biggest cause.
Well, I
I
want to
want.
list. I want to make you a list real quick. I want
Hmm.
to make you a list of bathroom issues that I have, and I want you to just when I'm gonna go down the list, and I want you to tell me if you agree or not that it's an issue
Hmm.
for you as well. So, first thing that I'm very, very against when it comes to this bathroom. This is all about public bathrooms. First thing.
Hmm.
I hate a chaperone in the bathroom. The one that expects a tip for spraying soap in my hand. The one that has some Tootsie Rolls in the middle. Like if you go to PT Strip Club downtown, shout out to PTs. If you go to a few of these bars that are nightclubs, like a perfect example, there's this new nightclub in Bardstown Road. I think for like the younger crowd by Speedway and Atomic, and they literally have people in the bathroom that are doing that kind of stuff. I don't need somebody to,
Right.
put the soap in my hand. And then also, if I'm washing my hand, why do I need to give you $5 for doing that? I was already needing to wash my hands. I'm not trying to spread salmonella through the damn
Hmm.
the establishment. And again, I might be wrong about Atomic. Whoever has these bathrooms, I know a few strip clubs do. It's just like there's no point. So, would you agree that's dumb?
Oh, absolutely, that's dumb. But I
Yes.
don't go to these fancy establishments that have a chaperone, as you put it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just. I'll be honest. I don't either, but I've ran into it, and I'm just like.
Mm,
Also, too, I don't have just random bills in my pocket just to give this man who
right.
sprayed some foam in my hand, and I'm almost paying this man money to spray a
Hmm.
foam little sponge in my hand, but that $5 bill he expects that would buy me a whole container of soap. That would
That's
get me
true.
1,000 pumps.
That's
Uh,
true.
second thing I want to bitch about in bathrooms. Don't
Hmm.
you hate it when motherfuckers wash their hands and you know how like it'll be double sink at like these restaurants and there'd be water all over the counter. It's like, how did you get it so much in the middle? Because the heated things we're talking about that we hate in the paper towel dispenser, it's to the right. How does this
Hmm.
water get you're not filling up the fucking sink in there. So how are these dual sinks getting water everywhere? Because if you put your pants up to it, now you got water all over your pants, and you're walking back to your table or your date looking like you pissed yourself. It's
Hmm.
I hate it.
My method of going to the bathroom in public is mostly a survival game. Like it's just I try to mind my own business as if I don't know if there was like some mobster in the bathroom, just like I didn't see anything, I didn't see anything. That mentality. I
Well,
will say
one
I.
other thing that bothers me, let me just say
Mhm.
this, is that the towels that just literally hang there, not the paper towel, but that
Mhm.
towel that they used to use like back in the day
Oh.
where everybody's wiping their hands. That's trifling.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's nasty.
I think in 20 years, we'll look back on the notion of shared bathrooms with like stalls and everything. It's just some inhumane practice. It goes against human rights to, for multiple people to expel waste in the same room.
Oh,
That's
for
what I
sure.
believe.
Oh, for sure. I went to Norway once and they wanted in one of these cities $1 to enter the bathroom. And I thought about it first, like this is a joke. But then I
Hmm.
thought about it, it's genius because
Hmm.
you would rather, I guess, have somebody that is willing to pay $1 to go in there that really has to go. They're not really
Hmm.
going to pay $1 to go destroy it. Hopefully not. So I think it also probably raises money to keep the quality of the bathroom up. And so
Hmm.
I was like, I fuck with that. But another idea I was going to run by you just to think is this a good idea or not? And it's kind of a wild idea, and I feel like You're somebody that supports some ideas that can be a little wild. Uh,
Hmm.
I've always thought about. I've told a few people, and they're like, "Eric, you're just being silly," and I'm like, "No,
Hmm.
I think we need a rest area app." And what I mean by that is,
Hmm.
you're a traveler. You travel around the United States. We could throw Canada on there, Mexico, whoever else we want to get connected on this, the whole world. But a designated app that you can, like, it would be user friendly. You make an account. So, say you and I are on a road trip and we stop at the rest area close to Bowling Green or close to the Tennessee border. Okay, we pull in. We're like, hey, this place is clean. This place got maps. They got good
Hmm.
snacks. Like, there's a great area to walk my dog. You can leave it like a Yelp review, but it's just focused on rest areas. So if I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, do I want to stop here at the Circle K? Oh shit,
Right.
this rest area's got everything. You can do that. And I think it would be an idea that could turn out to, like, it sounds really stupid, but there's apps
Hmm.
for everything. And I think it could
Yeah.
expand into something where it's like people pick up on it.
Yeah. I Yelp for bathrooms. I like it.
Yeah, and I think that it's important because I have been in some public restrooms that are horror stories, and especially when you get to a
Hmm.
town where the gas station has the side bathroom on the side door, that can be a horror story.
Hmm.
Would you say like what's probably the worst bathroom you've ever been in public wise that you can remember?
Mag bar.
Oh my God, yes. Oh yes, God, that is a horrible bathroom.
Oh yeah, it's nervous if you feel the storm brewing down below, so to speak, and you
Woo.
go there. You're gonna have to defy physics to avoid a really tragic end to your night.
Oh yes, yes. Horrible place. Granville Inn's got a horrible bathroom. Talking about
Hmm.
bars. There's a lot of places that just have some bad bars. I remember going to when it was open, like those places like Sully's, O'Shea. That shit. Once it gets later in the night, those bathrooms are getting wrecked.
Hmm.
Bonnaroo. I go to Bonnaroo in June, and I went back in 2019. And dude, I'm telling you, what I saw in some of the porta potties was stuff that they would write in horror movies, dude. It was awful. Like I couldn't believe the shit I saw. Like it was unbelievable how people treated the porta potties, and I just don't get how it can get to that point. Like it just there's got to be proper porta potty etiquette at these festivals nowadays. So, what would you say is one of your favorite places that you've lived?
Boston. Boston was just amazing. It's such a city with such diversity of landscapes. They've got like the beach, they've got the Arboretum, the Metropolis downtown, parks in the middle of downtown. I remember when I first moved up there, I would just like jump out at some random train stop and just walk around, just wanting to like, oh boy, I live in a place with big old buildings here. And then I'm walking around downtown and I just see a park right there, just like sort of like an oasis in the metropolis. And I would just go there and I would see people like throwing frisbee, laying down on the ground, reading a book or what have you. And it was just, oh, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, just, and also the culture there was really cool too. I would, I was much more of a drinker when I lived there, and so I would just like pop open a bottle of beer and ride the subway, and I'd strike up a conversation with people over different quality beers uh, while I was just like public intoxicating.
Oh,
Really
that's
cool spot.
awesome. That's
Hmm.
fun. That's fun, and I love Boston too. I went there once. I went to like Cheers. I took a boat out to Provincetown. There's a
Hmm.
restaurant out in Provincetown called the Lobster Pot, and it's probably the best seafood I've ever had. And just Boston seafood, Boston like beers
Hmm.
up there. Just in like you're completely right. The culture, the history, and
Hmm.
it's awesome to see. And like, what's awesome about Boston that people don't realize? Talking about shitty bathrooms. Talking
Hmm.
about a place for beer storage. So these bars in downtown Boston, a lot of them been around for so long. Their storage is underneath the bars. So a lot of times these delivery drivers and these people, they're opening up stuff off the street and having to walk beer downstairs, walk them down
Hmm.
ramps, and think about the barkeeps and the bar runners are having to run down there underneath to get the next keg and all that stuff. It's just you want to make that shit futuristic, but it's just kind of tough. So it's really
Hmm.
cool to know the history of like these places are still running and still functioning like they did in the 1800s.
Hmm.
What was some of your favorite places to go besides like the subway and parks? Like, could you name a few restaurants or a few spots that were like your regular spots to go?
Uh, I can't remember the names. I haven't lived there since 2012 is when I left there.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, most of my favorite spots was just like places to walk. There's a little walking trail over by the river, and you got to see the skyline there, and that was always lift me up on a dour day.
Oh yeah.
Um, the Arboretum was just great, like living in a big city, there's going to be um, trouble and everything. You get like wrapped up in the rat race, even as a server, going there and just sort of like feeling this like overwhelming sense of calm. Oh, I miss it.
Do you say Fenway Park? Did you get to go see that?
I've walked by it, but I'm not really one for sports, and also I was like incredibly poor when I lived up there, so I didn't really get to go and do a lot of stuff. I was mostly just sort of if I felt like drinking, just like get like a bottle or get a six pack of beer and try to hang out at a friend's place,
Yeah.
drink in their basement.
No, dude, there's nothing wrong with that. That was always a good time.
Hmm.
Everybody, back in college and back in my 20s, still to this day, there's some nights you just got to ball on a budget. And so,
Hmm.
and you can, like, it, I know it, like, you can make the best of it, even with the six pack
Hmm.
or something fun. So let me ask you this. So I lived in Nashville for 4 years. So when did you live there and in what area?
Let's see, Nashville. I lived there for a good month. I was too prideful when Boston didn't work out. I think towards the end there, I was crashing on a fringe couch for a few months, and then they're just like, "Hey, buddy, hey, um, have you been looking for a place to leave? Because I think your exodus is approaching." And it was like towards the end of autumn, and
Mhm.
the restaurants were going to be dying out. I didn't have the money for security deposit or anything, so I just sort of like on a whim, just like hopped on my laptop, bought a one-way plane ticket to Nashville, and we'll just kind of rolled the dice on it.
Mhm.
And then I went there, and the things in Boston I took for granted, like not having a car, so riding trains around, it didn't occur to me until the plane dropped in Nashville. Just like, what have I done?
Mhm.
And yeah, it was just like, well, Boston didn't work out, but I'm too prideful to return to Louisville. Let's try Nashville. And then, yeah, that I got like a whole bunch of steps in because I didn't have the car. Yeah, I found like this house, like a room for rent off of Craigslist. One of the walls was like off of the wall. It was like bare. You could saw the inner workings of the house. Um, the person that owned the house was charging a boatload for it, not because it was a quality house, but because it was across the street from someone that was a pro indie NFL player. So that didn't last long. I would walk to work every day and I'd see expressway signs pointing for Louisville uh, down, and just like my homesickness got the best of me, and I ended up moving back. I'd say like a month and a half after I moved there.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Nashville from 2008 to 2011, and it was
Hmm.
great. I probably go down there again like 2 to 3 times a year. I have friends in Hendersonville, and then my best friend Jama lives in Nashville, and I'll be honest, dude. I know exactly those Louisville signs you're talking about. It was really interesting visiting Nashville and seeing all the Louisville
Mhm.
tourism billboards, and then like, because it's like that's where I live, and seeing that. But it was cool as well. But
Hmm.
I definitely know that feeling. Like when I first moved to Nashville, I in 2008 I was having mixed thoughts of moving to Norway. I was over there. Then I was like, okay, do I want to move to Nashville? Had so
Hmm.
many different ideas and concepts in my head of like what I wanted to do. So I ended up going to Nashville for college. Went in October during my first quarter because our school was by quarters. I kind of got a homesick feeling, and I was like,
Hmm.
I want to St. Louis? But then I was just like, I made the best decision because I was like, I want to ride this out. I got my degree, got to stay, and Nashville was a lot of fun. It was a way of like I DJ'd. I had to really hustle. I had to do random shit, for money just to get by. But it was a case where everybody kind of around in my college and my group circles, we were all hustling, trying to do whatever we could. So yeah, it's definitely a town that at that time was more affordable. Now I kind of call
Hmm.
it the Los Angeles of the South because
Yeah.
it's so expensive.
Hmm.
It's overpriced everywhere, and
Hmm.
what's sad is like anybody wearing a cowboy boot is a tourist. Like there's so many tourists everywhere, and you can just identify them right away, and it's almost kind of like I'm fine with that, but when you see tourists get into other areas, prices are going to go up. And what's interesting is no matter what neighborhood you are in Nashville, your rent or your price of your house has gone up tremendously just because it's in Nashville because of the population growth and like all those software people moving from Silicon Valley and San Francisco to come
Hmm.
to Nashville, it's just raising the prices. But
Yeah.
but if you live there, you know 15, 20 years ago and sat on your house, you're making a fortune. You might have a 3 bedroom 2 bath and it turns out to be worth 600,000 more than what you expected.
Oh yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, that's yeah, the prices of like rent and everything has gone up so bizarre. I think back in 2017, my first apartment in Louisville was located like right downtown. It was called the Barrington Place.
I
I
know
think back
exactly what
then
you're
it
talking.
was, yeah, the Colonel Sanders building.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
it
my
was,
ex-girlfriend lived there. My ex-fiance lived there.
yeah, yeah. And I think I was paying like 470 a month, and that included utilities. And I haven't had the best career. Instead of like chasing the bag, I was chasing the art. And so I like was walking around and I just sort of like just out of curiosity, just sort of saw what the Barrington place had become. And I just like sort of got nostalgic or something, checked out the prices, and just like I can no longer afford to live in the first apartment that I ever had. It's insane.
Oh, it was insane because me and my ex, when we met, it was 2015. She was living there. I was living in J-Town. I had been in
Hmm.
this apartment for years, and she lived there. She could afford it. It made sense for her. It made sense for kind of the whole situation in regards of her price range. She was bartending and stuff, but
Hmm.
we ended up I stayed there a lot, and
Hmm.
I noticed that they were starting to do changes and they were starting to try to revamp it. Then you started seeing the prices go up, so it was kind of good for her and me when she just moved in with me because
Hmm.
getting her out of there, she would have paid through the roof. And what's crazy, yeah, they had a great roof lookout, they had a great lot of great
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, the roof dude was fantastic, but a
Hmm.
lot of stuff was still old, like the elevator. I mean, there
Hmm.
was nights where I'd pick her up or we go out and I come home to the side of the Barrington and dude, there's somebody like passed out, just wasted on that side door or
Hmm.
it was an interesting place. But to be honest, it that lookout kind of made it all worth it.
Oh yeah. Not to like there was also I lived on the third floor when I lived down there. So whenever I like also had a job downtown, and there was just such a zest or a burst of energy, just like walking down the stairs like 3 flights. You walk out the side door to like, and you're just all automatically just like in the middle of the city. And that was just such a wonderful, ordinary experience. But now that prices of everywhere have gone up, I was just like, that is a purely a memory. I'm never gonna be able to have that experience of just like waking up and being downtown as soon as I walk out the door.
Yeah, no, I get that because I'll be honest, it's something I definitely miss because I
Hmm.
really felt an element of like, yeah, I don't miss her or miss that situation, but I miss the building. I miss that
Hmm.
element of like having access to that roof. So it definitely was a cool spot. There's a lot of cool spots I like. Like my last job, I rented places part time, and I rented a lot for this guy Bill Stout, and he had some properties on 4th Street, and I was
Hmm.
in these like old school apartments, and you could see the history and feel it. But you go on that patio and just like looking over 4th Street,
Yeah.
it just anything in Louisville where I can get a view, and it's not about like
Yeah.
cloud or comment. It's just if I get
Right.
a good view somewhere where a lot of people can't experience, it's always a good feeling. Like at the top of the Whiskey Row Lofts, at the top of
Hmm.
the Galt House, and and also shout out to Junior Bridgman, rest in peace. Junior Bridgman today, one of the first African Americans from Kentucky to become a billionaire, and he was a basketball star, but he didn't really make his money off basketball. He did charity and business. Just me mentioning the Gold House, I just thought about it. Today, he was getting interviewed around lunchtime. He was supposed to speak at a leadership Boy Scout meeting that they were doing at the Gold House. And during his interview with like Wave 3, he said he thought he was having a heart attack. They rushed him to the hospital and he died. So rest in peace, Junior Bridgman, 71, Kentucky Louisville legend. So just had to say that. But there's a lot of cool views, a lot of cool places in the city. Somebody was on my podcast a couple episodes ago and mentioned that really unique building. It's an event space by Joe's Crab Shack. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, with all that glass, it's just super cool. Like looking over the river, and I've been in there once when I worked for Leo to go down there for an event for Harbor House, and dude, it's a hell of a view. I mean, even the patio at Joe's Crab Shack, it don't get enough love. Like
Hmm.
the view from that
Hmm.
is sick. Like I
Yeah.
love it. So, what are some of your favorite spots in Louisville?
Favorite spots in Louisville. I have an affinity for old Louisville. I've lived there twice. My favorite thing to do is just sort of walk around. And so like the architecture and the sort of like the merging of the metropolis of like the architecture and everything with nature is always really cool to me, which is why the Boston Commons was so important to me. Old Louisville also has that same sort of nature feel of like the merging of the city and of nature. I like that spot. Um, that's that's it. When I was a kid, I loved the Bardstown Road area. And I like downtown. I like the hustle bustle of downtown.
In the Highlands, dude, when we were kids, it was so cool. Like I
Hmm.
remember riding around there with my parents, and I love seeing the people. I love seeing everybody walk around and vibe. And you saw so
Hmm.
much culture and personality. I can tell you're a culture
Hmm.
guy. I'm the same thing.
Hmm.
I want to vibe with the area. I want to see all kinds of people of different races, different religions.
Hmm.
I want to see everybody vibing. So I really love the Highlands too. When I have friends come in that are not familiar with Louisville, not don't really know anything about the city, that's definitely an area I have to take them. No matter
Hmm.
what is still there or what is gone, I can
Right.
still always have a fun time walking. There's a lot of history, and I don't know, like I love that. And something else that I've really gotten into lately, I don't know if you've ever got into this. I know you do technology. It's like,
Hmm.
do you like I love looking at before and after Louisville photos of like where people will take a location from maybe like 1900 and then have the current
Hmm.
view of it. Dude, that's one of my favorite. I can look at those all day.
What is your I guess it's hard to pick out a favorite, but what is the coolest one that comes to mind?
Oh, the coolest one? Okay, so you know where
Hmm.
the by that apartment building we were talking about with the Colonel Sanders. So
Uh-huh.
you know where the water company is right there, kind of
Hmm.
down the street. So on the
Hmm.
corner right there, literally on that corner, kind of to the left would be the that park empty parking lot, and then to the right would be like that shit. That little historic building right there is like a wedding venue. So it's right
Uh-huh.
there in the corner and of the water tower corner, and it's four African American kids, and they are standing there all dressed up real nice, and
Uh-huh.
it's just super cool because they're wearing the clothes of that time. It's cool to see them in that area. They're grouped together. They're dressed nice, and you literally see that picture. And even though that building's been a little bit fixed up, it's that
Mm-hmm.
same corner. And University of Louisville, I have to give their library credit. I've found some stuff like just searching on Google and searching places. They've done a really good job of trying to do that kind of content. And there's a couple of these Facebook groups which I'll give them credit. A lot of these older gentlemen and older ladies in these groups, they have a lot of those pictures from family and ancestors, and they try to post that or at least post one each day. And I try
Mm-hmm.
to look through those because I also I don't know. I don't know if you're like me, but when you see a place like the history and you see kind of what was going down there, and then
Mm-hmm.
you actually go there in person, it's kind of still a little freaky. Like thinking
Mm-hmm.
somebody was standing right here that's not here anymore, or their energy. Like it's just interesting to get that feel of like, holy shit, how many people stood on this corner?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just very very interesting. Like even the Fourth Street Live area, like we're right there, that CVS and all that stuff. At one time, like the Sealbach was there. That's of course a historic hotel, but a lot of that area was just buildings, and they had like
Right.
little tiny fences. Like you didn't get to see all that, and and so much has changed at the Fourth Street Live. One time that was an inside Galleria mall, like so much has gone through, Louisville, and Louisville for
Mm-hmm.
the city it is, man. It's full of history.
Yeah, I can't like I like now that you bring up Fourth Street Live, um I feel like there was a time in my history at least where Fourth Street Live wasn't Fourth Street Live. I don't even know when it became
Oh, it
what
was
it
a
is now.
Galleria mall. It was a Galleria mall. So it was an indoor
Oh.
mall that was in the middle of there with like stores and like a second floor. And dude, when the Galleria opened, it was this huge celebration. And a lot of people reminisce on the backside of 4th Street Live, like on um like the side, you know how you can like exit the left side of the parking garages. There's
Mm-hmm.
a walkway out by a church, and that kind of a lot of people get the sense still the Galleria, like one of those main exit areas, they kind of kept that the same. But where the two exits were, that was actually an enclosed Galleria mall, and 4th Street Live
Hmm.
actually came in around 2007, 2008, because
Hmm.
people don't realize, dude, which it's kind of funny to say this, but Brett Michaels, Rock of Love, season 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 three, dude. So that fucking ratchet ass show, the first episode of season three, dude, was at um uh it was and I take it back. It might be season one. One of those fucking seasons, one, two, or three of Rock of Love started in Louisville. And what's crazy is it was before 2008. So this is like
Hmm.
2005. We're in high school times. And what's crazy is, dude, they had LRS Fest down at Waterfront. This is before any festival, before any
Mm-hmm.
4th Street Live. And the more I watched it, these girls, I think half of them stayed in the Econo Lodge down there by that hotel.
Hmm.
And then some stayed, like Brett probably stayed on the bus from the Marriott. But it was just interesting to see because at that time in that video, I was like, man, there ain't much shit going on in Louisville, and like Rock of Love's really showing. But now
Mm-hmm.
it's evolved, and there's a lot more to do now.
Rock of Love doesn't get enough appreciation. If the Louisville officials had the same sense of like appreciation or hindsight, there would be a memorial just like Louisville's rock banner or something, or Louisville's
Yes,
bread. I don't know.
dude. And what's crazy about that episode? Fucking Brett, dude. So it's now I think called the Bourbon Hall. And it's changed to 50 fucking names of that venue. It's always been a performance venue. It's right by that Bader's gas station. And what's hilarious is so he pulls up two buses. Like one bus is full of girls, another bus is full of girls. Of course, he's on his shit somewhere else, and they pull up to this venue, which I think at the time it was actually Coyotes, and LRS Fest is going on. He's supposed to be performing down at Waterfront, so he calls the girls in the venue, and he's taking pictures. And what's hilarious is like he has to take pictures of each girl, and they're posing, and like it was so goofy. And he ended up leaving some girls in Louisville. Like he eliminated them. He just leaves them there on the sidewalk, and the buses just take off. And I'm like, that's fucked up. Like they're not going to find a ride at Bader's. I'm sorry.
Mm.
And but dude, Brett Michaels was wild, dude. And then Flavor of Love, and then there was Date
Hmm.
to Love, dude. I'm not gonna lie though, I watched all of it and I rewatched it. It's too good. Did you watch it?
No, I'm not. Pardon me. I'm not one for reality.
Yeah.
If I'm going to watch TV, it's going to be something completely fictional. Whenever I see like a movie trailer, this has been consistent all of my life. Whenever like it can look really, really cool, but then as soon as it pops up with based on a true story, just like I'm out. No, thank you. I want the fiction. I've got a fiction addiction.
Oh, dude, I feel that, dude. Like, let me ask you this: what is some of your favorite like fiction material? Like, it can be anything, TV, comic book. What would you say is some of your favorite
Um,
fictional content?
let's see. I'm a huge Charlie Kaufman fan, so being John Malkovich is cool.
Oh, hell yeah!
Um, I like Shawshank Redemption. It's a normie response for favorite movie, but it's normie. It's good for a reason. It's just so warm. Let's see, books. I like Kurt Vonnegut. Basically, something either character driven or weird. That's up my alley. I like the TV show Frasier. That's my favorite TV
Holy
show.
shit! Okay. I fucking love Frasier, bro. Okay,
Hell
we
yeah,
got to talk about Frasier. Holy shit!
absolutely.
That's kind of freaky, bro. Because okay, I've been dating my girlfriend now for about I think a month.
Hmm.
Like officially, but we finally posted on Facebook, all that. We've known each other for like 5 years. But anyways, she's kind of, used to her shows and used to mine. So I've been asking her, like, hey, can I throw this on? So I threw on some Frasier the other day.
Hell yeah.
Well, we smoke weed and we're vibing, and I told her, I said there's two episodes that I have to show you, and I've told her already.
Hmm.
I want to watch it from season one all the way through. I've done
Hmm.
that already with two people. I've done it myself. It's so
Hmm.
fucking good of a show. But
It's
the
so
two
good.
episodes I want to bring up to you that are my favorite, and I want to get your opinion how
Hmm.
good you think. The first
Hmm.
one is High Holidays, and it's where the
Oh,
dad says Niles has not rebelled and
oh.
ever in his life. And,
Hmm.
and Niles buys the weed brownie from Roz.
Yeah, that
And
was great.
yes, dude. And fucking the dad eats the brownie, replaces
Hmm.
the brownie, and Niles is on this placebo high, thinking he's high, and
Hmm.
the dad's high the whole time. And just, I'll never forget Kelsey Graham or Frasier going, Dad, you're stoned off your ass. And it was just, and the fucking dog talking on the TV, and he thinks it's the
Hmm.
dog. So we watched that one, and then, dude, my second one is the hat. I don't even remember the actual episode title, but I think it's season 8. It's when, excuse me, Niles and Frazier had promised Dad that they would take him to a Supersonics game. They never had taken him. So he scores some tickets and they take their dad. Well, they keep switching seats because they're not comfortable and the dad's getting annoyed. So Niles gets picked to shoot a half court shot and he hits it. And he
Hmm.
becomes like the talk of the town and like this hoop star for like 10 days, dude. It is so funny. Frasier's
Hmm.
jealous. Dude, I cry laughing at that. But what are some of your favorite episodes?
Um, just regarding to high holidays, just I had a reason. Pulls out a paper, fridge pants.
Dude, that part is fucking great.
Right?
And then the best part, Frasier goes, before he knows he's high, Frasier
Hmm.
goes, hey, Dad, he thinks Niles is high because Niles is acting goofy. And Frasier goes, Dad, before I go on my date, will you cut up that thing for Niall so in the feeling and he just walks in there and just goes to cut and I'm like, oh my God. But dude, the other episode and what's also great about the holidays episode, Freddie, his
Hmm.
son is golf.
What's that?
He's golf. Remember, he shows up with his girlfriend, he's golf, and
Uh-huh.
Fraser doesn't know how to react. He's like, "Oh, good God!" And he keeps calling his girlfriend "ghoul friend" because she's golf.
Mhm.
Dude, that whole episode's just fucking classic. But
Absolutely.
there's a few other good episodes about Frasier. I definitely
Hmm.
have to say the one episode, and like I said, a lot of the holiday episodes are great. The one where
Hmm.
Martin gets a job as a elevator man, like a doorman man,
Uh-huh.
hotel or the business center thing. That and he had that boss. That one was crazy. And then
Hmm.
um, I'm trying to think, what is that other one?
The
The
ski
one
lodge.
where they travel or
Hmm.
whatever together.
Oh, like with the RV?
Yes. Oh my.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. I'm in tears, bro. Like, dude, now you got me wanting to watch Frasier. And
Same.
here's the thing about Frasier, bro. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm
Hmm.
so glad you said it. It gets me hyped. I love
Hmm.
fellow Frasier lover. And I gotta say, dude, I'm gonna take you out to dinner this summer because
Hmm.
we gotta meet. We gotta talk Frasier more. But uh,
Hell yeah.
the thing about Frasier, dude, so I'm like not to get all emotional, sad on it, but my grandma passed last year, dude. She was 93, legend, and
Mm-hmm.
two of her favorite shows, dude, of all time, Columbo and Frasier. And
Hmm.
there was times where she called me late at night, need an errand, need milk, need something. I'd run over
Hmm.
there, and dude, having Frasier on, it just brings back reminiscent memories of kind of like, even though it's my house, she's not here anymore. It's like when I'm watching
Hmm.
it, I kind of feel like she's proud. And to be honest, I my girlfriend asked me the other day like why I watch so much Columbo. Now I think
Hmm.
Columbo's a fantastic show with Peter Falk, but
Hmm.
I'm on season 8 on Peacock of that because it has 10 seasons and it'd be goofy to anybody else, but dude, it's dedication. Because, dude, my grandma would watch probably 2 episodes of Columbo a day, even if it was a repeat. And so
Hmm.
I'm finishing all 10 for her. So I'm on season 8. I'm going to see, trying to pump out at least like a couple episodes. I wake up early in the morning, anyways, drink coffee, but I'm like, I try to check out as many episodes as I can because I don't know. And when I watch it, I'm kind of like, okay, she'd be proud. Like she
Hmm.
would vibe with that. What are some shows that you feel like kind of like touch your spirit, man? Like just when you see it brings back a good memory, or just like damn, this show is just always a good vibe.
Uh, just I can't think of it. Just Frasier is the only one. It has just such a comforting uh feeling. It's such a vibe.
Oh,
I think like a few years ago, I would just like have massive anxiety, and so the thing about anxiety is it's just like it's hard to go to sleep. It's hard to like kind of calm the brain down, calm the thoughts, and I would just pop some Frasier on my phone and set it on my nightstand, and it just had this sort of like this nostalgia to it. It feels like time traveling. And the Frasier itself, it's just like it's atmospherically like in the past, but it does not. It's like not pinned to a specific year or anything. It's just it's timeless, and it has such a calm tone where it just like playing that just had this like comforting warm come over me.
oh,
Um,
100%, dude. The theme song
mhm.
just alone, like
Mhm.
the theme song, and then just kind of it sounds so goofy, but just them being in the coffee shop, just watching that.
Mhm.
And you just kind of with Frasier, like you kind of feel like you know the characters. Like that's where
Mhm.
I talking about Boston earlier. That's where I fell in love with Cheers. Like that's
Mhm.
where we meet Frasier for the first time, and I didn't really fall in love with the Frasier character that much, but just Cheers
Mhm.
and kind of how all they mingled, and then
Mhm.
he definitely turned out to be he's like the lovable loser. Like he's not a loser.
Mhm.
He's a successful
Right.
man, but he just he fucks up a lot. But you just
Mhm.
you it, you feel you hate laughing at him, but you have to. You just have to.
Mhm.
It's too good. And then Niles, bro. Niles
Oh yeah.
and dude, the I remember him breaking into his ex-wife's house. She had the Dobermans, like so many. He got it. He got into so many goofy things. But I was so
Hmm.
glad when he got with her at the end.
Hmm.
And it just they had a baby, and that just man, I was like, is that ever going to happen? But a lot of that storyline, dude. Shout out to NBC. If they didn't just keep renewing that show, we probably
Hmm.
wouldn't get a lot of the moments that we got in later seasons. Because I mean, I
Oh
still
yeah.
to this day will fight it. I think that last season's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I've done like two runs of it, and then it's just some of that anticipation of the will they won't they between Niles and Daphne. I think I kind of like lost interest, but when I finally like pushed through and just like watched the other episode and accepted that the show couldn't be what it was before, I still think the final season still really hold up.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I actually after like watching it, it was kind of one of these cases where there was definitely moments I wanted to rewatch. I started diving in
Hmm.
more of like Google fun facts, like behind the scenes things, and there was just some elements of the show you kind of wondered why they went that route. But I like with Daphne, going to fat camp, like that. I know
Hmm.
that was kind of random. There was also the
Yeah.
with a lot of the storylines with Ross kind of went in so many different directions, and what I really
Yeah.
wanted to happen, I really wanted Frasier and Ross just blossom just early in the show, like real early in the show. But I don't know. There was different things. I did think it was funny when Kelsey Grammer's character Frasier, of course, he would beef
Hmm.
with the neighbor. I thought that was hilarious in the
Hmm.
over lights or over anything. But the more I the more I watch that show, dude, I've looked at floor plans of the actual condo, and
Hmm.
he had a huge lavish spa.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that place number one, it was so lavish. That patio was incredible. I mean, his
Hmm.
patio looking over the Space Needle. That's
Right.
insane, dude.
Yeah. I
It,
think some of my ideals of like an ideal life, I'm a sucker for a good cityscape and everything. And it
yeah.
just anytime I think of just like where would like if I won the lottery, what would be like my perfect place? And it's just like Fraser's apartment. Absolutely.
Oh, 100%, dude. There's another thing. I need to watch it because I've described this before, but I'm the same way as you where I like a view. I remember
Hmm.
views. I love watching movies where it's like, oh, they're on top of this and that kind of shit. But the thing about it that was like super cool, besides Fraser's Place, I just remember I always liked this moment. It's in the animated Walt Disney version of 101 Dalmatians, but there was like that barn where like I guess the cow or horses were in that little forward thing barn, but they're on top of that, like on top of the town. And there was
Hmm.
like that scene where they're like looking over the town and different lights are turned on. And it's the same thing that happens in Hey Arnold, where there's scenes where like you're looking at a Hey Arnold's apartment, or they do like a City Line, they play that instrumental music.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
dude,
too.
just seeing that town, man,
Hmm.
it's relaxing. And the thing that Arnold, I don't think, I think Arnold appreciated a lot, but I don't
Hmm.
think a lot of Arnold's friends and people realize like Arnold had a spot that that was so rare for even a celebrity.
Hmm.
I mean, it was beautiful. Now, talking about Hey Arnold, was that a show you ever watched?
Yeah, I watched it. I liked it. I like the colors. I like bright colors. I knew Hey Arnold I really liked. I think Doug I liked, but All Real Monsters was something I couldn't get into because it had like the darker color scheme and everything.
Dude, I see what you're talking about because I loved Hey Arnold too because that bright thing. Like there was a few episodes where they like wore costumes, like the one where they dressed up like a strawberry and banana. And
Hmm.
the one episode, like I actually cry. It's like the second episode of Hey Arnold, the first season's Lockjaw. It's a turtle in the aquarium, and excuse me, him and the grandma break it out, and it's just a cool dude. It's a cool episode, and
Hmm.
but Arnold had great animation. I love Doug's animation.
Hmm.
I really did like a lot of the Nickelodeon shows because they were bright.
Hmm.
Uh,
Right.
I loved Rugrats, dude. Rugrats was
Hmm.
fantastic. Did you ever watch Dexter's Laboratory?
Oh yeah.
Dude, I've been
Heck
getting
yeah.
into that. I've been getting into that again. Like, I've been really diving into some YouTube history of like Johnny Bravo,
Hmm. Oh,
um,
Johnny Bravo.
dude, 1969 Scooby Doo. You know what I'm talking about? Where
Mhm. Yeah.
it was, what was it called? Where Are You, Scooby Doo? That was
Uh-huh.
incredible, dude. Like, the animation in that was so cool. But the thing that I always was confused about with that show, dude, the Mystery Machine in every episode was different. And I don't see how at that time they can make those kind of adjustments. Like, I remember seeing it, and it's like they got two seats, and the
Hmm.
dog's laying in the back. How are they all four sitting in the two? One episode they got storage in the back and they got shelves. Like, I don't remember that. Like, then there's episodes where you look in the back and it's just a flatbed. Like, I really need a realistic feature of what the Mystery Machine is. Like, I clearly know what the outside of the van is. I clearly can tell with my own eyes the dimensions of the van by looking at it. But it's like,
Right.
what is going on with the seat structure? Like, and I'm sorry, during that time, there was no case of pulling pulling seats out and just adjusting
Right.
like that. It's 1969. That's not happening.
Right.
So,
Well,
and also,
if you
yeah, go ahead.
if how the van worked were easily explainable, could you really call it the Mystery Machine?
It now that's true. It definitely was a mystery machine. And
Hmm.
the other thing about the mystery machine to me was I always wondered why, like, number one, they're so quick to park that motherfucker at mystery sites, and that thing just sticks out like a sore thumb. I mean, if you don't see the mystery machine pulling up, you're blind. And
Hmm.
and then also it's like I just I want to know what was all going down in that mystery machine, and I even feel like in one episode there was like technology. I felt like there was
Hmm.
gadgets, and I could be I could be wrong, but I swear I
Hmm.
remember there being like one of those beep like circle things, and I don't know, like,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, they were above their times. Like, I think
Hmm.
Fred's dad had money.
I just want to hear. I want there to be like a modern show, um, where cops are doing like a stakeout on somebody in a replica of the Mystery Machine. Just we're not like they're just like so conspicuous that their target and like the officer's partner are just like, why do you insist on driving this? They're gonna see us a mile away.
Oh, dude, that would be great, dude.
Hmm.
I would love that. Like, I there was also, like you said, there was a lot of weird, uh,
Hmm.
like anticipation that show. Like, you knew what you're kind of expecting, but I I was always thrown off on a lot of those shows in the past. They kind of wanted to show you the breakdown of the whole episode before you watch the episode, and I
Hmm.
always was like, you're pulling the content away from me. Like,
Right.
I also I wasn't a fan of like recaps. Like on the last episode of, like, no, like, let me go into this raw because now you got me thinking about what happened on the last episode. Like, I'm trying to
Hmm.
raw dog this next episode and take it into like, this needs to be something I'm trying to watch and have a new perspective on. But I'll get attached to characters, dude. I really will.
Hmm.
Were you an Office fan?
Yeah, I like The Office.
I I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Every so often I'll go back to it and revisit it. It's funny. It's I'm not as like in love with it as certain factors or factions of society, but I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, there's some people do that go absolutely crazy over it. I've always been a fan. It gives me it's another show that I have good reminiscent memories like from college, and I
Hmm.
still watch it today, and like I'll catch myself laughing out loud because there's just some shit that's like it's written very well. But
Hmm.
I'm also one of those guys, like, I laugh at stuff that a lot of people are like, "Oh, that wasn't funny." Like, people were like, "I hate Will Ferrell," that when he was on The Office. I
Oh
thought that
yeah.
was some of his best work on a couple of episodes. Like, but a couple of them, I get it. It was dry. But then, like Robert California, dude, a couple of his episodes, like his character's weird as hell, but it was
I
so funny. Like,
I think the introduction of his character was so much more fascinating than what his permanent character ended up being. The way
yes,
he like took charge of that interview, and then he just instead of him being some sort of like uh, maniacal genius, he ended up just being a massive pervert, and that was a little disappointing.
yeah, dude, he was a massive pervert for real. That episode
Hmm.
where he has the party at the house, it's hilarious,
Hmm.
and there's so much important parts of the story happen in that episode with like
Hmm.
Andy and all that shit. But yeah, Robert was wild, and also too, like Robert Robert was so butthurt over the divorce and losing the house. Dude,
Hmm.
2 episodes before, bro, you fucking destroy your wife coming into work. Like, what you
Hmm.
fucking played yourself, dude. Like, you showed your cards. Like,
Hmm.
over here, like, oh, it's gonna go to the house. Like, and he also, dude, I don't care how rich he was, he overspent on a lot of shit. Like, he
Hmm.
knows how much he spent on fucking wine. Like that wine thing where he had everybody drinking wine, and then freaking Jim's like uh just flies out of there and takes out the mailbox. That's one of my favorite
Hmm.
parts. I would love to have saw the realtor just like show up the next day, like, where the fuck is the mailbox? Like, what happened? But yeah, dude. But that was also a dope house.
Oh yeah,
Dude, that pool
it's
was
no it's no Frasier's apartment, but it's all right.
100%, bro. I totally agree with that. So I want
Hmm.
to first off say, man, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you coming
Yeah,
on
thanks for having me on.
with the scheduling. Dude, you're a super interesting guy. I'd love to have you on in the future, and we'll definitely meet in the future. I
Look
want
forward
you
to
to
it.
be able to kind of plug some of the stuff you're working on, the content, and then I'll do my sign off.
All right, yeah, just Meat Team. It's available on every podcast platform. Mirador, if you're looking for a more musical experience, that should also be on every wherever you listen to music. That's Meat Team, MEAT space TEAM, Mirador, MIRADOR.
Hell yeah. And I want to thank you, brother. And I want to thank everybody that's been listening, tuning in, and downloading. VibingWithSleazy.com and Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast, Facebook, Instagram. Keep showing love, keep downloading, and we are out. Peace.